Hi, this is the lesson number 23 in this series of British literature. In this lesson, or in fact by this lesson, we are starting some of the prominent writers of the age of Chaucer. Age of Chaucer, basically it is the period of a transition, the transition from the medieval period to the moderns. Means they used the Middle English and it was the base of the modern English language. So the first writer we have, that is William Langland. He was born somewhere around 1332 and died 1386. And he was born in poor family, and the most important work he wrote, that is Piers Plowman. Plowman, the word is usually associated to the farming or the agriculture. So there are two kind of spellings available for plowman, and it is written. So it is a question related to the net exam. It is written in West Midland dialect. And one more fact available about this poem is that William Langland constantly revised this poem, and there are a few versions available, like version A, B and C, and sometimes there is a version Z as well, and it is the combination of version A and B. So mostly you may have seen that a writer is writing something, after writing that he again revised that. So such things happened with this work. Now about the content, the major part of the poem based on the life in the rural area, and then about the sins, the danger of materialism, spiritualism and corruption in the clergy life, secular authorities, suffering of the poor and their miseries, and all those things are personified by the narrator. And who is the narrator of the poem? Will. Will means desire, so he has personified this word will. So in this poem, the narrator receives his first vision or his dream, we can say, while sleeping on the Malvern Hills. This is an important name, Malvern Hills. And where is Malvern Hills? It is between Hertfordshire and Worcestershire, so some places near London. And the poet, or the narrator I should say, has a vision of a tower, and it is high upon a hill, and it is referred, this tower is referred as a heaven. And in the Malvern Hill Valley there is a fortress, and this fortress or fort, it is referred as hell. So two places we have, tower is referred as heaven and fort or fortress is referred as hell. And between these two places there is a field, and this field is full of worldly people. So we are just talking about the dream that narrator had. And Piers Plowman, this work has allegorical representation of the 7 deadly sins, and the name of that plowman is Pier, and he is a virtuous person, and he is a guide to truth for the poet. And about this more we have, the poet is searching for the way to become virtuous in life, and on the way he meets some figurative characters like do well. It is okay, something allegorical, maybe a bit difficult to understand. Three characters, figurative characters. The first is do well. Here do well represents consciousness, and then do bet. Bet means better. It stands for, or it represents grace, and then we have do best, and the do best stands for the charity. So do well, consciousness, and do bet, grace, and do best, charity. And this Piers Plowman, he is visited by 7 deadly sins, as I mentioned earlier. At that time he was working in the field or plowing. in the field, and he refused to leave his work, and he continued his work, and he further preaches these sins how to work, and which will lead to salvation. Means salvation means saved from all the evils. After having all this in the vision, the poet wakes up from his dream, and why or how he wakes up? He hears the Easter bells, the ringing of the bells in the church, and he wakes up. There is one more question about this poem we had in the question paper. The Piers appears finally as a good Samaritan who helps you when you have problems. So this is the a typical question, like as it was asked that the peers finally appears as, there were number of options and the right answer was good Samaritan. So good Samaritan means the person who helps you when you are in problem. So means any good person or any kind person who helps you when you are in problems. So this is just about his famous work, Piers Plowman. So we just have to remember a few of the important points. Different versions available, A, B, C, and Z, and the content means the narrator was sleeping on Malvern Hills. One side we have the tower that represents the heaven, and on the other side we have the fortress that represents the hell. And the pier, he's visited by 7 deadly sins. And the narrator of this poem, that is important point, the narrator of the poem is Will. So that's it for this lesson, and in the next lesson we shall discuss another famous poet from the age of Chaucer. Thanks.